Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's episode of Rebecca and Rebecca, where we love books. My name is Rebecca Yager, coming to you from Dallas, Texas, and my partner in books is Rebecca Reed from Indiana. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi. That was very weak. Hi.
Are
I
you
don't know
there?
what happened. I don't know. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, there's too
Oh,
much suspense with this book we got to talk about, right?
yeah. I suppose that's it.
It's left you breathless.
It has. Yes. Yes, that's it.
That's it. We are discussing, speaking of the book, we are discussing Guarding Truth by Kelly Underwood. It is a offshoot of Lynette Eason's Elite Guardians series. And this is book 3 of 3 of the Elite Guardians Savannah series. So let me uh, read the back cover copy or part of it anyway, so you can learn more about Guardian Truth, and then we're gonna talk about it. Anyway, the one thing former Ranger turned elite bodyguard Juliette Montgomery regrets is never telling fellow soldier Caleb Stiles her true feelings. But how could she? They were co-workers, and then the guy went and saved her life, and that turned out to be the one thing that cost them their relationship. So Juliette has moved on, trying to forget Caleb and her feelings. But Caleb hasn't forgotten her either. But he has no idea that she now lives in Savannah, Georgia, especially since his life is full as guardian of his niece, Ivy, after her parents were killed. And then he discovers that his brilliant niece's computer skills have attracted a notorious hacker group. More, when Ivy tracks the hackers, she endangers Caleb's cybersecurity company. Enter his need for the elite guardians, where Juliette Montgomery now works. So they are thrown back together. And this is an electrifying blend of suspense, chemistry, unbreakable bonds. This romantic thriller is a must read for fans of the Elite Guardian series. So this is all about Caleb and Juliette and Ivy.
Ivy, who has her own POV, which was, I thought, refreshing. I really enjoyed Ivy's POV. I thought that it was necessary to the story. And I think that without Ivy's POV in the story, we would never have really gotten the full um, feeling of her being so young, but so brilliant, because that's basically the issue, so to speak, is that she's what, 11, 12 years old,
12. Yeah,
12
she's
years
12.
old, preteen, but she's way ahead of everybody. And she's actually in high school because
In
she
high school.
skipped grades. So she's a fish out of water,
Mm-hmm.
who is trying to fit in as a teen and adolescent, those terrible, yucky years, anyways, where you never feel like you fit in, even when you
Yeah.
do. And she's even in this different, wholly, totally out of her element experience, but she's also, she has this memory that makes it super easy for her to do school because she doesn't forget anything. And so she doesn't fit in with her fellow students in that regard either, because she's actually way above them as far as intelligence goes.
Mm-hmm.
And that just creates this issue, which actually turns out to kind of be the crisis of the book, really, because without her being the way she is, a lot of the things that end up happening wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, as you're a teacher, I'm sure you really do kind of relate to this kid who's lonely but smart as a whip. But it's almost like the high school kids are threatened by her just her intelligence
mhm.
and her
She doesn't have anything
brilliance.
in common with them. That's the
Right.
problem. And she's new. That makes it worse. She's just started in this school, and it's a private school. It's because, well, there's lots of reasons why she's in a private school, um, but then of course she's in a whole new situation. She just lost her parents. Her uncle is her guardian. She
Mm-hmm.
has no longer has, any connection with her. She didn't, I mean, she knew who he was, but he was in the army, so she really didn't know him, and he didn't really know her per se either. And then they were thrust together in this situation that now they're just trying to navigate the best that they can.
True, but they have a deep love for each other because they have both lost everybody in their
Yes.
lives. This is Caleb's sister is the one who died, who is Ivy's mother, who has passed away, her and her husband, but he's lost his parents essentially. She's lost her parents. They have no other family but each other, except
Right.
for his brother-in-law's, late brother-in-law's grandparents. Um, but so they are really thrown together, and but they have a deep affection for one another. They really do want to cling to one another and understand one another. And she wants to, Ivy is the interesting cross between, yes, she's 12 years old and she's brilliant, but she wants to be grown up so bad because she is so brilliant. And she wants to help Caleb, you know.
Yes. I mean, it's even worse for her because a lot of kids at that age want to be grown up, but they're not capable.
Mhm.
She mentally is quite capable of being grown up, but she's still emotionally 12. And
Yeah.
so that's where the problems come in. And the fact that she's been kind of sheltered. She doesn't, I mean, and very naive as far as the evils that the world
Mhm.
has to offer, unfortunately, which it's good for her that she's not been affected by them, even with the death of her parents. Like it was an accident. Um,
Mhm.
and she just doesn't understand how people can be just who how people can just be out to get you in or out for themselves. She's a very caring and compassionate person, and so she doesn't get the fact that if somebody says they want to be your friend, they might not be wanting to be your friend because they like you. They might be wanting something else from you, and that those kinds of things, which is typical actually of a lot of kids that age. So it's not like and I think that's where having her point of view really makes it good, because we hear that from her, why she wants to be friends with people, why she's striving so hard, to do the things that she's doing in the story. And it makes perfect sense. And it really makes her character come alive. I think
Mhm.
without that, she would have been kind of a pasteboard character, unfortunately. And so I think it was really brilliant that, Kelly included her POV. It's just
Mhm.
a little unusual because you don't usually have that age group of a kid with a POV in a story like this, but she's a unique case.
Yeah. And you're right. I think it did elevate the story. It's beyond because again, this is a romantic suspense. So as far as the romance side, it's usually just a hero and the heroine POV, which would be Juliette and Caleb. So it was nice to have this third one in there for the suspense part of it. And you could almost see the struggle with Caleb. He's thrust into this father role again. He's been in the army and he's a single guy and doesn't have kids, and she's alone in the world. And and to have both their POVs, especially when they think about each other. I said, you see the caring they have for each other, but you can almost see where, I don't know, the way their goals were, where he's just trying to protect her and she just wants to help, and that can, you know, it elevated the story. Their little tug of war. I
Yes.
did this, but tug of war would be
Yeah,
taking this away.
this, this.
So,
Yeah,
um,
I would agree with that. And Juliet was an interesting addition to that because, of course, Juliet and Caleb knew each other from the Rangers. They had they worked together very closely. They went through, I don't
basic
know what
training together. It was
was it,
basic
basic?
training, yeah, and
Yes,
they were very
that's
good
right.
friends, um, and were very close, and had feelings for each other, but because they were both in the army and together, they didn't do much to act on those feelings at that time.
No. And then of course tragic things happened, and they both got out of the Rangers but didn't really know. They lost track of each other. She intentionally left without telling him, and because of for many reasons, and not sure they were really good ones, and I think she comes to maybe understand that later. But like, you know how it is in the spur of the moment, you think you're doing what's best, you think you're sacrificing, yourself and your feelings for someone else because it's the best for them, but we often don't always see the full picture, and we think we know what's best for other people, but sometimes we don't always
Yeah.
get that correct. So
That's her. She does have a little bit of a lone wolf mentality. She's just, if it needs to be done, she's going to do it. She's jumping headfirst into danger, risk, and so she has to learn a lot. And like her leaving without saying anything at the beginning of the book is like her lone wolf. She's going to handle it alone,
right.
the situation. So I liked Caleb. He was a little bit different character because he's also super intelligent like Ivy, and I think that's why they relate to each other. They have this super intelligent, this I can't the word the memory they had
Eidetic. Eidetic
yeah,
was it? Or is that what it was? Eidetic memory? I think
yeah,
that's what it was. I didn't want to.
beyond photo, yeah, the photographic memory. So they anyway, their memory, and he's very I did like the Star Trek references, and of course Juliette doesn't know Star Trek from Star Wars from
Yes.
any of
That
those,
was,
and he is very logical like Mr. Spock, which you got to enjoy these
yeah,
references.
that whole play on, the characters and the fact that Juliet was so confused and didn't understand any of that really added a lot of that was where the lighthearted moments between all of the serious like thriller things that were going on, the suspense elements, we had that humor and that kind of that running joke that Ivy gets in on it too. There's a whole, and it ends up, just really being just the thing, to lighten the mood at the time, and really kind of insert itself in to kind of give us that breathing space as a reader. Um, so that was, yeah, I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of suspense. Caleb is a partner in a cyber security firm, basically, and it's being hacked. And then there's this hacker group that is robbing banks and trying to get into, and his firm is in charge of the bank security kind of thing. It's kind of a nationwide attack, but in Savannah, they are raising the stakes and they are elevating it to much more serious crimes beyond, bank robbery where nobody gets hurt. People are getting hurt. Um,
Yes.
it's
Yeah, it's
getting
kind of
dangerous.
it's almost like a hacker group that it's like you said, it's big, but this little small piece of it has kind of gone rogue from them in a way, and
Yep.
they're just doing things the way they want to do them. And of course, it's elevated to real crimes, not just the cyber crimes, but actual crimes. And
Right.
and
And
Juliet she is there to protect Caleb, but also to protect Ivy.
Ivy. Well, it's cute. And I don't think, because we don't like to give spoilers, but I don't think it's a spoiler when it's Ivy that actually hires Juliet at the beginning. And Caleb's like, I was in the army. I know how to protect myself. But these hackers are targeting Caleb or this faction because it's more than
Yeah.
just hackers. They are definitely, there's some muscle behind here. And they
Yeah.
are targeting Caleb, and he's in danger. But it's Ivy being very protective of her uncle. Again, this
Yeah.
relationship between Ivy and Caleb is really, it's kind of precious to.
It is. It really is.
And so
I enjoy
she
that.
ends up hiring the bodyguard for her
Yeah.
uncle to protect him. And of course, his goal is to protect Ivy. So,
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, it has a lot of really good twists and turns. There's a lot of red herrings in this too.
mm,
I think we both mentioned we didn't actually figure out who the bad guy was until
no,
we found out, until they told
until he was
us.
revealed. Well, yeah,
So,
until he was revealed. Did not know totally. The red herring was very, very good. And
mhm.
did not, I had lots of people in my mind. And yeah, I
Yes.
was wrong.
I had a little bit of a suspicion. There was one thing that was like to me, I'm like, hmm.
Hmm.
But even with that, I was still not sure, like until they actually revealed who was behind all of this. I wasn't 100% sure. I did have a sort of a suspicion. There was one little thing that made me go, hmm, is that because it was like there was one thing I thought that's too coincidental. Like,
Uh,
and I was just like, but there was a lot more before I got after that. And I kind of almost there was enough like distance between the thing and the actual reveal that I almost like forgot.
mhm.
So, even in that, like I did think about it at the time. And then after the reveal, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And I thought that then, but there was so much else that happened that I kind of lost track of that in my head. So I thought she did a great job of the suspense issue. I thought that the chemistry between Juliette and Caleb was very good. I liked how they their ability to work together and like focus. Even though they were drawn to each other, they were able to like compartmentalize that and really focus on the problem and work through that. And they did a they did it very well. I thought that chemistry there was, and the way that they were able to do that and handle that was um, very well written.
Yeah. Well, it alludes to their backstory of being in the army together, so you can already this history has come back. They already got through tough times together through basic training's hard, and then the thing right before they split, which we're not no spoilers, but before she leaves without a word, um, was traumatic, and so to be thrust back together. There was one thing, and this may have been me, but I think it was part of the story now that I think about it, because he was Mr. Spock, so to speak, and he didn't like to be touched, and he was very intelligent, that she's the only one who could reach out, and she held his hand a lot, touched him a lot, and
Yeah.
he didn't pull away, but it was almost a lot of, okay, could she touch his arm? Could she touch? It was,
But
they
there
got
was
the
also the fact that he could call her by her nickname and no one
right.
else could. So there was like both of them had a connection point to each other that they wouldn't allow anyone else to
Yes.
access. And so it really highlighted how well they fit each other very, very well. And it was
Mhm.
mostly just stubborn denial, the reason they weren't together, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
There were things, but like a lot of it was just they wouldn't talk to each other about it, and they were just too stubborn to like deal with
Well,
some of the stuff.
stubborn and afraid. She was very
Yeah,
afraid. I think that's why she
yeah.
ran, part of that, because again, lone wolf. And then well, the accident happened with his sister and his brother-in-law, and he's all of a sudden taking care
Yeah.
of a
He was
child.
right. I think he would have pursued her
Yeah.
more but Ivy came along and that was the end because he now had to focus all of his energies and attentions on dealing with her and trying to make that work for her
Mhm.
and him, and getting all the pieces in place for her to go to school and all the things. It was
Right.
just there was a lot. So it was understandable why they weren't together because I really think had Ivy not happened, he would have pursued her and there would have been there would have been some interest that would have been interesting because I don't know that she would have been ready for that at that point. So, you know, lots of things there. But yeah, overall, I think I enjoyed the story. Um,
Mhm.
I thought the action was really good. If you like action packed, you'll enjoy this one for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, the
The
chemistry
suspense.
between them,
Yeah.
good.
Sorry, but the suspense was really good, carried through that suspense part of the story. And again, neither one of us guessed.
Yeah.
Though you had an inkling, I'm jealous. I missed the inkling all the way through, did not guess at
I
all.
did have that, but like I said, I forgot pretty much by the time I got to it. So it didn't really, it was a hindsight kind of thing, you know. It's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I thought about that then, but Yeah,
And
no,
then
I thought it was a probably it was a I haven't read the first two books in the series, so it's probably something that I would enjoy picking those up and reading the entire story of how they came to, because this is a new Elite Guardians branch in Savannah and everything, and apparently Juliette was kind of the instigator of creating that. So I thought that was interesting, and it would be interesting to read. I like the Elite Guardian series too,
I
so
do too. I do too. And I like, the other elite guardians to know their stories. But you don't have to have read this. This is still a good standalone story, but with her fellow guardians, bodyguards, that their stories are out there. If
yes,
you want to read more, it is a good series. I thought the action was good. The romance was a little bit of a slow burn
yeah,
romance,
definitely,
because they were dealing with a lot, and but I think ivy ivy didn't have too much to do with their romance, but I liked having the ivy there,
yes,
as part of the story. I really do think the 12-year-old elevated the story.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. So we're going to be speaking with Kelly Underwood in a couple of weeks, and so we're going to find out a little bit more, maybe about collaborating, because this was another collaborative series in a lot of ways. I know we'll be finding out more about how that worked and how they chose, maybe some of the things that happened and figured those out. So that'll be really interesting. You don't want to miss that episode coming up at the end of the month.
Mhm.
And then in other words, yeah, we're always available on our website, RebeccaandRebecca.com, and we have Spotify, YouTube channels, so you can subscribe and like and share. And please, anybody that you think might be interested, let them know that we are here and we're chatting about books.
Yep. Yep. Because, like I say, we love books. And again, in 2 weeks, we'll talk with Kelly. And then next month, we're going to talk with Michelle Shockley, um, with her book. I muff the title every time.
All we thought
We
we
thought
knew.
we knew. I
Yes.
want to
All we
call it
thought we
something
knew.
different. And Michelle,
Uh,
forgive me. All we thought we knew, which
that's
is
it.
split time. So,
And it has horses.
and Rebecca's happy because it has horses.
It
But
does.
meanwhile, if you haven't checked out any of the Elite Guardians books, pick them up. They were started by Lynette Eason, and again, she's still giving newer authors a chance
Yeah.
to write and to publish. And with Kelly's book again, Guarding Truth, Kelly Underwood, and we look forward to talking to Kelly next time. So thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.